That's funny. So, well, as it turns out, social contagion is not just limited to yawns and things, but also it applies to laughing. Laughing is socially contagious. And by that we mean that there is no laughing virus that spreads. But still, when you see somebody laughing, it's very difficult to not smile yourself. So there's more about social impact. Let me talk about the contagion of emotions. You know, that's something that I find really fascinating, because if that would be the case, that means that, hang on, we can actually really have an impact on the emotional state of people. The first study I want to talk about is a paper by Kramer and others, published in PNAS, 2014. And what they did in this paper, they actually did a large-scale study, a large-scale experiment together with Facebook, where they changed what people see on Facebook. And you have your news feed on Facebook, you read through it, but that feed is not random. And that's actually one of the interesting things, that we can actually manipulate that to have an effect on what you're going to experience. And in this study, with almost 700,000 people who were part of that study, what they did together with Facebook, they manipulated the news feed in different ways. So they manipulated what people see, either in the way that they see more positive news, or that people see more negative news. Or as a control, that kind of no posts were changed from the participants' news feed at all. And this is a typical study where nowadays we really use the tools of computational social science, where we can, on a large scale, using text analysis, we run algorithms over large bodies of text to classify them as either positive or negative. So you can draw on dictionaries to identify either positive or negative words, and the simplest way is a word count, simply counting positive words and counting negative words, and using that to classify something as either positive or negative. And you might not always get it right, but actually we get it right in a lot of the times. And when we're talking about millions of status updates, for example, and news feeds, hundreds of thousands of news feeds, then getting it wrong a few times is actually not the worst thing that can happen. Nowadays, there's also a lot of artificial intelligence coming into play into this, and this really changes also the way we can do research. Okay, so this is the news feed that you see in Facebook, and now you can go about and classify whatever you see in your news feed as positive, negative, or as neutral. And now what Kramer and others, what they did in this study with Facebook, they manipulated the news feed of several 100,000 people on Facebook, for example, in the way that they reduced positivity. So reducing positivity meant that people saw more negative things in their news feeds. But they also, for another set of people, they reduced the negativity. So those people, they saw more positive things in their newsfeed. And last but not least, we had a control. Here a certain amount of news were taken out from the newsfeed to begin with, the randomly selected, positive or negative, and that acted as a control group to compare it with the other one with the positivity reduced and with the negativity reduced set of people. And then they went and checked, how do people write status updates, or what do they write in the status updates?
This quarantine is killing me. I've run out of things to do. I've watched everything on Netflix. I've even watched All My Neighbors from my window. I've been on so many walks just to see if outside exists. I've ordered pizzas to my neighbor's house for my watching entertainment. I'm so bored.
And then again, using positive and negative words based on dictionaries, they literally checked and how many positive or negative words were there in a status update that people wrote after having seen these manipulated news feeds. So here we have the design again, I don't know, there's Facebook, and for some people that participated in that study, positivity in their newsfeed was reduced, and for another set of people, the negativity in their newsfeed was reduced. And then in both cases, they looked again at how many positive or negative words are being used in status update.
So bored.
To be precise, the design actually looked like that. There was also the control group, which is the group where random news were reduced out of the news feeds, and that acted as a control to compare against both the positivity reduced and the negativity reduced set of people. I have to say, it is pretty cool to pull something like this off, and while they could do it because they worked together with Facebook, but even without that, nowadays we can do an amazing amount of research that we could not have done not too long ago. One of the nice things about a design like this is it is pretty straightforward, right? You have like your control group, and the control group is here, the folks in the middle, where random news were taken out of the news feed. And then you compare that against another set of people where the positivity was reduced in the newsfeed, and another set of people where the negativity was reduced. And then in all of these cases, you look at what people do. If it would be the case that the amount of positivity or negativity that people get in their newsfeed, if that wouldn't matter, then there shouldn't be an effect on whether people write more positive or more negative status updates. But if you do find that would be some evidence for a contagion of positivity or negativity. Okay, so here is the result. It's like one graph that tells you all. And what do we have here? Well, we have the dependent variable, that's the positive and negative words that people use in their status updates. That's simply just count, like how many positive, how many negative words are there. And then we have like two sets, like negativity reduced, positivity reduced, and we have control and experimental group. So let's jump into that a little more. First, let us focus on this part. So what we have here, we have, first of all, control. First of all, we have a control group, that's like the dark blue bar, and we have the light blue bar, that's the experimental group. So that means in the control group, nothing really changed. Well, actually, some news were reduced, but they were taken out of the newsfeed at random, whether they were positive or negative. It really just some news were taken out from the newsfeed. But then you have the experimental group, and that's a light blue bar, and that tells you this is the group where either the negativity or the positivity was reduced. So let's zone in on this one here first. So this is now the part where of the people that had negativity reduced in their newsfeed. And what you can see is when you just look up here, when you compare the control group where just a random set of news were taken out with the experimental group, which is where the newsfeed was less negative. And what do you see here is that the dependent variable, and the dependent variable here is the positive words percent in the status updates of people. You see that this goes up. So basically, when people have news feeds with fewer negative things in it, they actually start to write more positive status updates. That's what this thing here shows. Okay, but there's another thing that happens when negativity is reduced. And let's look at the number of negative words in a status update. And again, when you compare the dark bar with the light blue bar, the control with the experimental group, then you see that when the negativity is reduced, the amount of negative words, and that's here the amount of negative words in status updates that people write, gets less. So this sort of, I don't know, is 1.8 and then it's 1.7 afterwards. So when people have a newsfeed that is less negative, they also start using fewer negative words in their status updates.
So bored.
To summarize this, so when negativity is reduced in the newsfeed, what happens is that people write more positive and fewer negative status updates. When we look at the other side of this, so when we compare the control with the experimental group in the case of reduced positivity in the newsfeed, so keep in mind, this is the case where, I don't know, my newsfeed on Facebook gets altered in such a way that I see fewer positive things. Yeah? So the positive things get taken out of my newsfeed. And what happens is that the amount of positive words that I then use in my status update actually goes down. So that's fascinating. So when you alter the newsfeed of people on Facebook to have less positive things in it, people also use fewer positive words in their status update. Looking at the number of negative words, we also find an effect that is in line with that. So when positivity is reduced in newsfeeds, people, when you compare the control with the experimental group, in the experimental group where that happens, people start using more negative words when there's less positivity in their newsfeed. So to summarize this, reduced positivity in the newsfeed leads to fewer positive and more negative status updates. Anyway, this is a cool study. So changing what people see in their newsfeed seems to have an impact on how people write their status updates. And in fact, it even shows that, if you see more negative things, if you get exposed to more negative emotions, that then, this triggers something in you to then also be more negative in what you do. Aww. But if that is true, it also means we could potentially use that, to do some good, to spread some happiness in this world, and maybe even a little laughter.
I'm sorry.
Okay, there's a second paper that I want to talk about. It's by Mushnik and others, 2011, published in Science, like a pretty good journal. And it's about social influence bias. Again, it kind of shows and how influence actually happens. And it also uses a large-scale experiment in the internet, a bit similar to the one that we had before. So this is Reddit. Reddit is a news aggregating site where you can write comments and then you can also up or downvote these comments. You can click a button, I don't know, I liked it or I didn't like it. You up or you downvote something that somebody else has written. Okay, so here it is again. So each comment has an up and a downvote button, and the comments have a current score, depending on how many people upvoted it and how many people downvoted it. Yeah, and that sort of is just how Reddit works. So in this study by Mushnik and others, over a period of 5 months, they looked at over 100,000 comments submitted to Reddit. And then what they did, they artificially up or downvoted some of these comments. So around 4,000 comments they chose at random and they upvoted those comments. So they gave it basically the thumbs up without looking at the content or whatever was written in there at all. And for another 2,000 randomly selected comments, they pressed the downvote button. They were artificially voted down, again, regardless of what the comment was about. So these comments were viewed more than 10 million times, that's quite a lot. So here we have the design, like Reddit, and they randomly selected some comments and they randomly upvoted them. And at the other end, they randomly downvoted some comments. And then again, we have in the middle a control group where we have comments where they didn't do anything with it. And then in all of these three cases, at the end of the day, they looked at how do users rate these comments afterwards. And the question was, does voting something up, making it artificially liked, does that lead to even more people liking it? Or in the other way around, is voting something down, like artificially disliking it, does that lead to more people disliking it? Again, if social influence wouldn't matter, there shouldn't be an effect. If you wouldn't care, or if there wouldn't be any influence on how you rate something, depending on what others did, then there shouldn't be a difference in all of these groups. Ratings should just happen as they happen. But if there is influence, then we should see a difference, and we should actually see that users rate something higher when before others already upvoted it. Okay, so this is the result. It's a very straightforward graph. You have two figures. One gives the probability to upvote, and that's on the left. So this is an amplification effect that is going on. So when something was uptreated, when something was artificially voted up, then the other people that come later on, they also voted up. And when something was artificially treated down, then the people that come afterwards also treated down. And here we have this correction that I mentioned earlier. When you artificially treated something down, then other people are more likely to vote it up again. There's some correction going on. Anyway, so results demonstrate that positive and negative social influence accumulate, thus creating tendency towards rating bubbles, where people that see each other, end up rating in a similar way. It's a bit like in the cultural market studies that we had already before, where the order really seemed to have mattered for how people then rate a song. But at the same time, there's also some correction going on where artificially uptraded comments get downvoted again afterwards. And that's a big question. And there's another paper in the extended reading list. I didn't have time to talk about it today, by Arnoud van der Rooijt, about self-correction when these kind of biases happen due to social influence. But that's another topic. Another set of results is more in the paper. Comments posted by friends are more likely to get upvoted than comments posted by enemies. And when a friend's comment gets artificially downvoted, this correction is more likely than when enemies' comments get artificially downvoted. But more about that really is in the paper. The story here really is that people's ratings of these comments don't seem to be independent of what other people did before. And when you come along as a researcher and you artificially change that actually has a real world effect on how other people rate something afterwards. And that's actually a big area of marketing these days, to use these mechanics where you can start something to then trigger a rating cascade where people like something or they don't. But so much about social influence for now. There's more to it. There's an interesting paper in the extended reading list on the correction of biases that occur due to social influence. But so much for us. Next time we look into self-fulfilling prophecies and success breeding success dynamics. In the meantime, have a good laugh. When you're on a Skype or Zoom call with somebody, have a smile, because who knows? And maybe spreading a laughter or spreading a smile is not the worst thing that can happen these days.
What do mermaids wash their fins with? Tide.
The first part was funnier. You should have never thrown the punchline. That was terrible. Did you know in King Arthur's time, one of the knights of the Round Table collected taxes? His name was Surcharge.
Yeah.
Top that.
What did the fried rice say to the shrimp?
Fry your rice.
Don't walk away from me.
Is that what it says?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Did you hear Steve Harvey and his wife got into a fight?
That's not real, is it?
Yeah. It was a family feud.
Did you hear about the superhero with a lisp that always worked out? He's Thor.
Bad ending again.
Hey, what are you talking? How can you not?
What kind of car does an egg drive? A Volkswagen.
What?
A Volkswagen.
Volkswagen.
Yeah. Get it?
What do you call someone who gets mad when they don't have any bread? Lactose intolerant. What do you call the syrup with a speech impediment?
Oh, scissorp.
Mrs. Stuttersworth.
Oh, that's a good one. What airlines did Jesus and Mary take?
Virgin.
No.
Oh.
TW. Yes, Virgin. You read my punchlines, I'm gonna crack you with this space helmet here.
What's the most crunk place to go to the bathroom? The Little John.
Little John. Wow,
Yeah.
that's good. What was the Foot's favorite type of chips? Doritos.
That's terrible. If Steven Seagal removed all animal products from his diet, what would we call him? You can probably get this one.
Stephen Vigali? Vegetable?
Vegan Seagal.
Vegan Seagal.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have got that in 15 years.
Oh.
What did the plumber say to the singer? Nice pipes.
Yeah.
Cold man.
If spaghetti
Cold man.
made an action movie, what would it be called?
A spaghetti western?
Mission Impossible.
Wow. What kind of shoes do gophers wear?
Gloafers.
Woodchucks.
What do you call a lazy doctor? You made this reference.
Gynecologist. On chronology.
Dr. Doolittle.
Oh. Did you know on average people want 3 covers on their beds at all times?
No.
That's just a blanket statement. Okay, another one.
What did the pot eat on its birthday?
Brownies.
Pancakes.
Where would you grow a chef?
A chef as in a chef who cooks
Yeah.
food. Where would you grow a chef?
Yes. Bakersfield.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Chef and a baker are
Yeah.
different. But anyway.
What do you call a camel in a drought? This is a little naughty.
Camel toe.
A dry humper.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
That's the worst thing I said.
I know. That's not right.
Oh my God. I thought
And they
that
were
was
worried
really
about you
inappropriate.
cussing.
I
This
thought,
is terrible.
What do you call a person who doesn't believe in Santa Claus? Eggnog stick.
Agnostic.
Eggnog stick.
What is Starbucks' favorite city? Fort Lauderdale.
He liked that one. You see how he smiled when he delivered it? Why did the salad go to the studio? To get some beats, winner! Winner!
How do you get a squirrel down from the tree?
I don't know how.
Pull down your pants and show them your nuts.
See that?
Yeah. Boom.
Always works.
Yeah.
Woo!